from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, good afternoon, Kern County. Welcome back. This is our 2 p.m. session of the May 13 Kern County Board of Supervisors. The meeting is now officially reconvened. I almost said Supervisor Kathy Krause. Can you believe that? I will not curse you with such responsibilities.
I never would want to sit on that side of the dais.
Well, gee, thanks, Kathy. Okay, well, then let's get to roll call.
You're my hero, but I don't belong there.
Oh, I love you.
Okay, we'll start with roll call then. Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Parlier.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Were we aware Supervisor Couch would not be here for the 2 p.m.?
Yes,
Okay.
he did inform me. He's traveling. I believe it's for Quesera.
Excellent. So Supervisor Couch will not be present. He was here this morning and through the entirety of closed session, but he sits on our Quesera board, so he is traveling for Quesera and our county retirement repertoire. So he is doing business on county business, and that is the reason of his absence. So moving on, I would like, please, council to provide a report on actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. This morning in closed session, you met on items 67 and 68. You continued item 69 until after this afternoon's open session. And you also considered items 70 and 71. And for those items that you considered, there is nothing to report.
Thank you very much. Item number 69 is in an department airport interview, so we will be heading back into close to conduct the finality of that process. So thank you very much for that report. We're going to move to consent matters. There are agendas located in the back of the room for any of you wishing to follow along. Excuse me. Consent matters begin on page 2, and they include item 4 on page 2. On page 3, items 5 and also 7 through 13. On page 4, all items listed, 14 to 24. Page 5, items 21 through 23. It's actually all items listed with 24 withdrawn. So 24 will not be voted on, but otherwise all other matters, 21 to 23 and 25 to 28, will remain on consent unless otherwise noted. Parlia, which matter were you pulling? 31, okay, very good. So on page 6, matters 29 and 30, as well as 32 and 33. Item 31 has been pulled by Supervisor Parlier, and we will hear that in its regular order. But 29, 30, 32, and 33 remain proposed on consent. And on page 7, all items listed 34 through 39. So with the matter being pulled to be heard in its regular order, are there any members of the public who would like to comment? Consent matters are considered routine and non-controversial by county family, but if a member of the larger public family has some input or insight, now would be the time to provide that on consent matters as I just listed them. Please come forward. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Item number 35, my name is Karen Bessard.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
What do you have to say on 35?
I just had some questions. It's not so much that I don't disagree with it. Actually, I agree with it, and I'm just hoping my questions are pretty much yes. So is the whole classification moving to underneath the county admin office, like the whole clerk of the board office?
Okay, that's one question.
Will they be confidential if the answer is yes? And then if the whole classification / office is, will they be able to get their proposed salary increase immediately?
Okay.
So those are my questions.
Karen, thank you. Do we have
And
anybody?
congratulations, Kathleen.
I'm so sorry. I didn't catch that, what she said. Karen, do you mind?
Oh, I told Kathleen congratulations.
Oh, how fabulous. Okay. Can anybody provide some insight for that matter?
Madam Chair, let me check with staff. The division would be within the CAO's office, similar to IT, HR, and general services.
So they would not be confidential employees then?
No, they're not looking to be confidential employees.
I think that was the crux of the question, right? Okay, because if the answer is no, then we don't move to the other issues.
Correct. So no salary increases as well.
Okay, got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bassard. Thank you for the question and the clarification. Any other members of the public on consent? Okay, we're going to then close the public portion and return for action by my colleagues.
Okay, motion on the consent agenda with the exception of 31.
Thank you, Supervisor Flores.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I need a second.
If someone could second.
Second.
Thank you. Supervisor Parlia, we have a motion and a second with the caveat of the item pooled. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. The next portion of the meeting is public presentations, and this is the portion of the agenda that is reserved for members of the public who would like to come forward and talk to the board and ask for action or provide criticism, input, ask questions of matters that are within Kern County's jurisdiction but not on today's specific agenda. And they may end up on a future agenda if that's how it develops. But that is the reason of this portion of the agenda, is for open matters that the public would like the board to think about and to put on the record. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Come on down. Is that Mr. Lane? Nice to see you. Good afternoon and welcome.
Nice to be back. I have this for. Thank you for this opportunity. Public safety was the primary reason why Measure K was passed.
Your name, sir, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eddie Lane.
Thank you.
Public safety was the primary reason why Measure K was passed by Kern County voters 2.5 years ago. And yet public safety seems not to be a priority in Hart Park. There are a series of pictures that I'm passing around, most taken last Friday. The first shows the entry to the portion of the trail which goes over the stream, taking water from Hart Lake into Hart Park. And I'll just show this to the board. Again, copies are going around. There's no fencing, no barriers, no warning signs. The second picture shows the effects of trail erosion caused by high water during the winter of 23-24. This is an extremely dangerous situation. No fencing, no barriers, no warning signs. Please note that this situation was brought to the attention of top Kern County Administrative Office staff first in November of 2024 and in subsequent meetings and correspondence. The third picture shows fencing and signage put up a couple of months ago where the splash pad is going to be constructed, again in Hart Park. Access is prevented. With the steel fencing, access is prevented. So there's no concern for families walking along Hart Park, and yet in Hart Park, where the splash pad is being put up, there's very good safety procedures in place. The fourth picture is of repair work, which is done along the river. This was because of previous flooding. It's kind of hard to see, it's not a good picture, but the work that was done was not well done. It all washed away the following year. And finally, the fifth picture is of the use of gabions by General Services, by the sheriff's shooting range there. So we have professors from Cal State who have visited down there. We have recommendations in the long article that I passed out. and they need to be taken seriously. Collaboration is a good thing. And I think my time's up, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Eddie, thank you for the pictures. I've been there. My last few times I've been here, I've been very concerned as well. I know Supervisor Peters has some challenges up in his neck of the woods too. This is big and serious stuff. Eddie, thank you. These are crown jewels. These are gems of Kern County that we have to give a lot of TLC to. Thank you for your input. Hello and good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Miss Lisa, ms.lisa, middle initial K, last name Pollard.
Hello, Ms. Pollard.
I was thinking, words written I can read, words written I can sing. Today I have a song to sing. Last time I read the preamble because I didn't have it memorized. And today's song, I didn't know all the song, so this is my own recognition of singing the song, if that's permissible.
It is.
America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining seas. Jesus is the same today, yesterday, and forever. In God we trust, bless America. Remind us of our liberty. Remind us of our independency. America, the land of the free. America with liberty. And thank you for this liberty to sing this song today for your board meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a beautiful voice. My goodness, thank you. Are there any other members of the public? If you're going to sing, you better do better than that, because that was beautiful. It brought a little calm and peace to my soul there. Thank you. Thank you. No other public presentations? Okay, we're going to move right along. Colleagues, do you have board announcements or reports? Supervisor Parlier.
So it's a request, and I talked to Josh with Public Works, and I'd like to have an update on code enforcement, what they're doing, how many cases they've generated here lately or last year, what their tools and their toolkit are, if that can come back in, I don't know, next few months. Thank you so much.
Supervisor Parley, that's excellent.
Thank you for that, Supervisor Parley.
Is that a second?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. It's excellent motion. Thank you. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Supervisor Flores, anything for you?
No,
Okay. Supervisor Peters, we're good. Okay. We're going to move on to item number 3, which is a request of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department to update the housing element of the Kern County General Plan and Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan covering the 2024 through 2031 specific request. And it looks like we have our director teed up and ready to go. I know this has been a long time coming and so much work done. Thank you so much for that. And we look forward to hearing an update today. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm going to have Craig Murphy, Assistant Director, who's been shepherding us through for quite a long time, make the presentation, and I'll be available for questions as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. The project before you today is consideration of the proposed 2024 through 2031 housing element. The housing element itself is one of the 7 state-mandated elements of the Kern County General Plan, which includes both Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan and the Kern County General Plan. Today's action is considered an amendment to those adopted documents. This item was previously scheduled for consideration by your board dating back in March of 2024. However, the item has been continued on multiple occasions to allow staff sufficient time to address comments from the California Department of Housing and Community Development, referred to in this presentation as HCD. Each version of the drafted housing element presented by staff and prepared by staff has been made available for public review and comment and has been submitted to HCD for their technical review. On April 30th of this year, staff received correspondence from HCD indicating that the housing element before your board today meets all of the statutory requirements and will substantially comply with housing element law when adopted and submitted to the state. A copy of the letter received from HCD has been attached to the staff report for your board's review, and clean versions of the housing element, meaning that there are copies of the document that are not shown in underline and strike through, have been posted on the department's website. So, what is a housing element? The housing element itself is an analysis of existing and projected housing needs for a given housing cycle. In this case, it's for the 6th housing cycle, covering the years 2024 through 2031. The document further includes an assessment of fair housing, along with statements of goals, policies, and implementation programs designed to preserve, improve, and facilitate the development of housing to serve the needs of all income and special needs residents in the county. When we mention special needs, just so that we kind of know what we're discussing, special needs, or examples of special needs households include senior households, persons with disabilities, female-headed households, large households, which are considered 5 or more members, agricultural workers, homeless persons, and then our military personnel as well. So as a starting point for our analysis, state housing element law requires quantification of each jurisdiction's existing and projected housing needs covering all incomes levels. The identified need is further based on the Department of Finance population estimates and the county's annual median family income. As you can see on this slide, the total population for Kern County is just over 917,000 residents, of which approximately, or just over 319,000 of those residents live within the unincorporated areas of the county. The majority of our housing growth is occurring in cities and makes sense as most of the required services and infrastructure needs are within those areas to meet the requirements for large-scale development. When it comes to income, in Kern County, the annual median family income for a household of 4 persons is just over $80,000. Using the identified population projections and the median income level, HCD submits to each Council of Governments a projected housing need for the upcoming housing cycle. In Kern, each of the 11 incorporated cities and unincorporated Kern County is providing what is referred to as a Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA for short. The county received our final RHNA allocation in January of 2023. So it has been determined that for unincorporated Kern, the 6th cycle housing element needs to account for a RHNA totaling 9,243 housing units, broken down as following: 776 units for extremely low populations, 775 units for very low populations, 987 total units for low populations, 1,853 units for moderate income, and then 4,852 total units for our above moderate income. The 2024 through 2031 update before your board today continues the county's focus on conserving the existing housing stock, meeting the needs of special needs populations, and addressing market, environmental, governmental, and infrastructure constraints affecting the provisions of decent and affordable housing for all of our residents. Through implementation of the proposed housing programs, this element greatly expands on the tools available to the county in terms of facilitating development projects and represent an expansion of the most successful programs from our previous cycle. This document places increased emphasis on streamlining review, increased coordination among providers, and support of expanded multifamily development in all areas of the county. Unlike those previous housing cycles, there is currently sufficient land in unincorporated Kern to meet the RHNA allocation. That is due to the rezoning efforts your board committed to in late 2021 and 2022, in which you rezoned close to 300 acres of land to higher density multifamily uses. As referenced in my previous comments, the focus for this housing element is how we streamline and facilitate housing development for those in need.
So essentially, does that mean we're 9,200 units short, essentially, of meeting what we're setting out as our blueprint for what's ideal
For
for
the next
Kern?
years, we need to have land available for 9,280 so units, and then broken down based on those income categories.
Got it. Over the next 10 years.
Yes, and
Okay.
unlike previous housing cycle, where we actually had a program where the county needed to, throughout those 8 years, rezone land, for this particular housing cycle, we already have sufficient land for the units. So now it's a question of not necessarily going out and rezoning new land, but what can we do? What are our programs in place to help facilitate the development of those units based on those income categories and things along those lines? So that is a big difference between the housing element you have before you today and the previous two housing elements that your board took action on the previous cycles, in
That
which
is
both
so
of those
helpful.
needed to rezone over the course of the document.
Understood. Wow. Excellent. Thank you. Please keep going.
Sure. So to facilitate what I just mentioned, the following 5 goals were used as a guidance document when it came to the development of our specific programs. First goal was to conserve and improve the quality of existing housing in residential neighborhoods in the county. The second goal is to assist in the provision of adequate housing to meet the needs of county residents by implementing all state mandated land use and zoning laws, reducing potential of governmental constraints to housing production and affordability. Goal 3 is promote equal opportunity for all residents to reside in housing of their choice. Goal 4, facilitate the provision of housing suited to persons with special needs. And Goal 5, pursue sustainable development for new and existing residential housing stock and reuse sustainable development for new and existing residential housing stock. So a complete list of the proposed programs can be found in Chapter 6 of the housing element. That is the section known as the housing plan. And they have also been included to your staff report as Attachment A. What I'd like to do now is highlight some of the proposed plan programs. So one of the first programs, which is actually currently already underway, is the creation of a dedicated housing unit within the Planning and Natural Resources Department. This is intended to enhance the ability to communicate effectively with our partners in the building and affordable housing communities. The second is use of enhanced infrastructure financing districts as we go forward to help offset some of the capital costs associated with development of infrastructure to get to proposed new housing units. The third is an increase in the density of our existing R2 medium density zone districts. They currently have a maximum of 16 dwelling units per acre. Staff has a program that we'll be bringing back to your board to raise that to a maximum of 20 units per acre in the medium district density zone area. The next program is removal of the precise development PD overlay district for all multifamily residential districts. Currently, any multifamily development requires processing of a PD, which is a public hearing. Staff believes that we have sufficient existing development standards that can be reviewed as over-the-counter, which would then reduce the need to have these projects go before a director's hearing before they could get authorized.
How exciting.
That's really
How
important.
exciting.
Yeah. It's really important when it comes to, as has been communicated to us, applying for grants. You know, projects that are trying to apply for grants, there's a big difference in having a project that has a site plan that's already approved and one that doesn't. And the requirement to go through that process before you know whether you have funding and things along those lines has been a barrier to us able to receive grant funding at times, and also the timing in terms of when that funding can be submitted. So a request was made to look at removal of that PD overlay.
Excellent.
Another program is an expedited review of affordable housing projects. So projects that have identified themselves as being affordable and have committed to a portion of their housing development being reserved for affordability would get an expedited review when it comes to land use consideration and building permits. Another program is the pursuit of a pro-housing designation with the state. Again, this goes down to grant funding. Having a pro-housing designation by the state, you basically get extra check marks when it comes to their decision on who gets funding. And so it was requested that we pursue a pro-housing designation. Next is development of a vacant commercial and industrial land inventory. So last year, I believe, we presented to your board a vacant residential land inventory that we maintain on our website, in which anybody can find vacant residential land, click some buttons with our GIS system, and find who provides service to them, what CSD district are you in, what are their contact numbers, things along those lines. As part of this program, we are actually looking to try to do the same when it comes to commercial and industrial land. A lot of the housing needs want to be located next to those service areas, and so development of this plan, similar to our residential plan, will go a long way towards helping facilitate development, facilitate land that can be readily available for various projects. We're committed to maintaining our vacant residential land inventory. That is a effort that has to go forward. You know, it's up to date. I believe the website gets updated every couple of weeks. When land changes, when property get building permits, you know, there is a continual process that the planning staff works with the assessor's office, and, you know, that is just something that has to be maintained. And so the county and the planning department is committed to helping maintain that inventory so that we have an accurate list when people go to look for those residential units. And then additionally, planning staff would work with developing ADU, accessory dwelling unit informational guidelines. Any property in Kern County is allowed to have an ADU. The Kern County Public Works Department has been working on getting standard plans in place. The planning department, in our effort, will be preparing, as part of this program, some guidance documents that will be available to the public. If they are interested in developing an ADU, what resources are there available, how can they go about that, and we would be kind of maintaining that guidance document as well.
Could you help just explain the general explanation of what an ADU is? And a detached garage is not an ADU.
It could be.
It could be.
An attached or a detached garage could be an ADU. Oh. Generally, a lot of times when people refer to an ADU, they think of a detached housing unit that is smaller than the primary unit that is on a particular piece of property, and that they either can live in themselves, they can rent out, they can have family live in that unit, but it is a standalone living unit. So it has the appropriate hookups to where someone could consider it a living unit. That's a little bit different than a guest quarters, in which, you know, like think of a pool house, for example. There isn't the ability to have a oven in a pool house, kitchen, everything along those lines. But an ADU, and again, detached or attached, there's a lot of different ways to kind of go through and do it. There are some guidelines that we can help facilitate. But again, every unit, for the most part, unless there's something very unique in terms of water availability and physical constraints, every property in Kern County, if you have a primary home, you are allowed to, for the most part, have an ADU on that property as well. And so these guidelines would help to just walk people through that process if that is something they'd like to take advantage of.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So as part of our, what I would consider a robust public process, staff has received a number of comments. Included in the staff report are multiple letters from the Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability requesting additional programs be added. I would note that you received an additional comment from Leadership Council today as well, which has been provided to your board. While staff has incorporated many of the suggestions received through this public review process, there are still some programs that we are not recommending at this time, and what I'd like to do is briefly outline those and summarize why staff is not recommending them as part of this housing element. So I believe there's about 8 overall arching programs in total that staff has received requests for. The first is development of a rent control and inclusionary zoning requirements. The second is establishment of a rental registry, development of a community land trust, expanded funding resources, or some sort of commercial linkage fee where any commercial property would have to provide an extra fee that would go towards affordable housing. Establishment of safe maximum indoor temperature thresholds and development of a weatherization program. Expanded farm worker housing programs. Establishment of a community task force made up of residents that would provide guidance regarding affordable housing. And then the development of a county-sponsored legal guidance and service system that would allow residents to have some attorney representation when it comes to residential housing matters. Pages 12 through 14 of your staff report does summarize the department's response to those requests, and they do outline the reasoning why staff is not supporting of these requests at time. In general, just as an overarching response, many of these comments and programs that are being asked about, they are already offered by other providers. Staff is concerned that any effort we undertake would be redundant and then also confusing in terms of really trying to maximize the ability to implement those types of requests. Additionally, unincorporated Kern is at a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to attracting housing, partly because in unincorporated Kern, we don't have as readily available sewer, water services. The requirement to expand those types of developments and capital infrastructure to facilitate those developments are a little bit more necessary in unincorporated than they are in incorporated cities. And staff is concerned that if we implement some of these programs, people actually wouldn't develop housing in unincorporated Kern. They'll just go right next door and develop housing in the city of Bakersfield or an incorporated city that doesn't have those types of programs. Additionally, there are overarching concerns, specifically regarding inclusionary zoning. The Home Builders Association has provided a comment. They actually believe that the requirement for inclusionary housing does not create more affordable housing, but actually makes it more cost prohibitive to develop housing in general and affordable housing. So there's some question as to whether or not some of those programs really do meet the intended desire and need in what they are hoping to. So while staff is not recommending these programs be included at this time, clearly with our new housing units and our coordination meetings that we have embedded into this document, we will be able to continue to understand some of the concerns and needs. We've also included program 3.3, which is a commitment that within a number of years, staff will actually undertake a study to look at these programs a little bit more in depth. Let's look at the effectiveness of them. Let's actually look at how much they cost, and not only how much they cost, but how much benefit we get out of those programs. And we will bring that report back to your board for your consideration at a later date. Again, there's a question about whether or not that particular resource meets the desired need at a large scale, or is it very small in terms of who it would benefit? All of that needs to be looked at a little bit more focused and a little bit more broadly before planning staff is ready to recommend that your board adopt programs to initiate those types of programs. In addition to those comments in opposition or requesting additional programs, staff also did receive comments in support of the housing element as presented. Comments submitted in support were received from the Home Builders Association of Kern County, Greater Bakersfield Chamber, and the Associated Builders and Contractors Central California chapter. The project was considered by the Planning Commission on their June 13th, 2024 hearing. After the public testimony, both in favor and opposed, the Commission determined that the requested expanded programs were not appropriate to include in the housing element at this time, and they recommended your board approve the document as presented. The recommendation presented to your board today is to adopt the negative declaration, adopt resolution and its recommended findings, approving the 6th cycle 2024 through 2031 housing element as requested. This completes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions your board has and expand on any of the proposed programs included in the housing plan, or provide any additional comments as to why staff is not recommending the inclusion of other programs that were suggested. With that, I'd like to turn back to Ms. Oviatt if she has any closing comments.
Wow. Absolutely excellent presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. I just wanted to highlight what is our housing plan. So while people like to drive down the street and see brand new apartments, what has been going on in Kern over the last few years is actually looking at our substandard housing. We have a very old housing stock here. On your agenda today, for example, item 65, which was approved on consent, is an $8 million revenue bond to acquire and rehabilitate senior apartments, affordable housing projects in Lake Isabella. One of the main goals of the housing element is not just new, but what are we doing to keep our aging housing stock from then being bought up and turned into market rate? Gentrification and displacement is actually not happening in Kern yet. We don't have quite the right atmosphere, but what could be possible is that these turn into market rate. The Housing Authority has a $60 million project that the department is supporting them on doing the environmental to rehabilitate over 300 substandard units. This means that they go in and they, evaluate it for lead and asbestos, and we bring all those units up, and then they're good for another 20 years. So the work that is not being publicly acknowledged is all the work that's going into converting our housing stock into the next generation. And certainly we were also focused on building. But in reality, acquisition and rehabilitation can actually be more cost effective than new buildings. So I just wanted to highlight that even on your board agenda today, are these small steps? I acknowledge that. The need is very, very great. But with this housing element that goes far beyond anything that we did in our last cycles of housing elements, I believe that we will actually start addressing and working with our community members and working with our providers to get new builders into the community, new providers, and to address, along with the CAO's office and their new expanded program, I should say, of addressing homelessness. I think we are off to a great start for our next 8-year cycle.
Thank you for your high-level remarks. I appreciate it. Are there any questions for staff at this time? We're going to go to the public in a moment. Okay. So I would like to ask if any members of the public would like to come and weigh in on this really important and long fought-for moment. Good afternoon and welcome.
I second that, because I live in a senior mobile home community, and we need that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Could you give us your name again? We didn't catch it. Forgive me.
Miss Lisa, MS.Lisa, middle initial K, last name Pollard.
That's like a famous person's name, Lisa K. Pollard. I like it. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Robert Hooks. Couldn't tell if the numbers up there accommodated houseless people.
Great question. Was that your only question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're going to seek to have that answered. Thank you. Anybody else? Any members of the public who would like to comment? Okay, we're going to close the public comment. Are there any final remarks regarding public statement or anything else?
Madam Chair, members of the board, when the commenter says houseless people, is he talking about renters or is he talking about the unhoused, homeless people? Yes. Part of the, all of the programs take that into account, and we look at transitional, supportive housing. Mr. Murphy didn't go over that, but there's a whole range of encouragements for that, support for that, and zoning. Yes. Thank you.
Great question, and thank you for the clarification. I see no other members of the public who would like to speak. I don't have anyone plugged in. I do want to ask, anything else you want to add on this, big and exciting moment? Okay,
Yes, I just wanted to publicly thank Craig Murphy and acknowledge him. This was a long process of back and forth, trying to deal with where we're going, and our recent hire, Paul Johnson, the Assistant Director, also at the very end got this over the finish line. We also appreciate the extensive collaboration with the CAO's office in regards to a variety of strategies and other things that we had to do. There are many, many, many jurisdictions in California that go through this, and we are just very happy to bring this to your board so that we can get to work.
Thank you for the acknowledgement. Mr. Murphy, he is consistently excellent, and that was very, very good. Just excellent. Okay, colleagues?
Motion to move staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Congratulations, and thank you. We're going to move right along to item number 6. This is a public hearing on a proposed increase in the assessment within county service area, CSA number 10, for streetlight service charges fiscal year 25-26, Northwest Bakersfield area. I understand Public Works is setting up. They're going to provide a presentation, and then we will open it up to the public for comments, questions. But at this time, we are preparing to hear a presentation on item number 6. Public hearing, Public Works Department, Josh Champlin and his team are up. The floor is yours.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Joshua Champlin, your Kern County Public Works Director. I'm going to today hand this over to Assistant Director Adrian Nava. He is over this division of Public Works, and he will be presenting this item to you today.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Nava.
Good afternoon, members of the board. The item before you today is a proposed rate increase for County Service Area Number 10, or CSA 10, for streetlight services. We'll go over the Proposition 218 process, the background, and why the need for this increase. This proposed rate increase is being conducted in accordance with the requirements of Proposition 218. It is important to note that this Prop 218 process for streetlights is different from the sewer or solid waste Prop 218 process your board may be more familiar with. This process does not involve written protests from property owners. Instead, it requires submission of ballots. For the rate increase to be approved, more than 50% of the submitted ballots must be marked yes. So in other words, a simple majority of the ballots received determines the outcome. Public Works mailed 608 ballots to the affected property owners at least 45 days ahead of the public hearing. Each ballot included details about the proposed flat fee for streetlight services, instructions on how to vote, and the method on which ballots may be returned, either by mail or delivered in person by the stated deadline of today. In addition to mailing the ballots, staff conducted in-person outreach, going door to door throughout the neighborhood to explain the process, answer questions, and provide information on the proposed increase. Staff also held a public information meeting on April 23rd, and one property owner attended the meeting. Staff did a great job with this outreach, and their effort played a key role in generating a strong return of ballots from the community. CSA 10 is an unincorporated residential neighborhood made up of 608 single-family residences located in the Rosedale area by Coffee Road and Olive Drive. These homes receive street lighting services funded through an assessment collected via their annual tax bill. The current assessment is $32 per parcel per year. Within CSA 10, there are 119 streetlights currently in operation throughout the neighborhood. However, over the last decade, PG&E costs have increased significantly, and unfortunately, the current revenue now that's collected from the assessment is no longer enough to cover these expenses. An increase in the assessment is necessary to maintain the current level of service and ensure the safety of both vehicle and pedestrian traffic throughout the neighborhood. This map shows the current boundaries of CSA 10, and as you can see, it is located in the Rosedale area near Coffee Road and Olive Drive. The areas highlighted in green represent the 608 parcels within CSA, which are served by a total of 119 streetlights installed throughout the neighborhood. The areas outlined in red indicate the portion of CSA 10 that lies within District 1, while the area in yellow shows the portion that falls within District 3. In fiscal year 2023-2024, CSA had a revenue of just over $19,000. However, total expenses came to about $29,400, with about $27,700 of that going to PG&E alone. So 95% of the costs are just pass-through costs that go from the property, from the assessments to PG&E. This resulted in a budget shortfall of nearly $10,000. Currently, each parcel is assessed $32 per year. Per the engineer's report, the proposed new rate is $52 per year per parcel, an increase of just $20 annually, or an increase of $2 per month. This small adjustment will allow CSA 10 to keep up with the rising energy cost and continue providing reliable streetlight services throughout the neighborhood. With the increase, CSA 10 would generate an estimated $12,000 more each year, helping close the gap and avoid any disruptions to service. That concludes my presentation. At this time, it will be appropriate to open the public hearing. We're available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much. This is the time and place for the public hearing and to tabulate the ballots considering an increase in the assessment for CSA number 10 fiscal year 25-26. Unless the board has any questions, I will now open the public hearing and ask if there are any public comments. If anyone in the audience has ballots, now is the time to please come down and deliver them to the clerk. Madam Clerk, have you received any ballots? Looks as though a ballot is coming down now. Is that correct? Oh, excellent. We'll get to you in just a second. Is there anyone in the crowd who has a ballot that they would like to return to our clerk at this time?
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask a question when it's appropriate, but my button's not working on here.
Got it. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, have you received any ballots that need to be considered?
No, I have not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I have not.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and return to the board, but first to Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Mr. Champlin, just out of curiosity, so I know that rising costs are something we have to deal with, especially with PG&E. But are we looking at all of our CSAs and reviewing them periodically, what those fees look like, so we don't wind up in a situation like the city of Bakersfield did, where we have to propose some ridiculous massive jump to cover our costs?
The short answer is yes, and this is the beginning of really digging in deep on these. I'd like to, I think we prematurely closed, Madam Chair, the public hearing because we did have one member of the public who was standing up who wanted to speak. So
Understood.
I would recommend that we go back to her, and then I can fully answer Supervisor Peters' question.
Sure thing, thank you.
My apologies, I've lost my screen. Completely, it's black. Can I ask you, ma'am, to come forward? I am so sorry about that. Managing a lot up here. Not a great excuse, but my apologies. Welcome, good afternoon. If you could state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Vicki Moore, Vicki with an E-I-E at the end. I am a resident of District.
Vicki Moore. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry about that. Vicki,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, my voice isn't very loud.
would you say your name again, ma'am?
Vicki, V-I-C-K-I-E, Moore, M-O-O-R-E.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and I am a resident of CSA 10 in the 3rd District. And first of all, I would like to commend the Public Works Department for their due diligence in that they performed in providing information regarding the increase in the CSA 10 annual fee. At first glance, the fee increase from $32 to $52 seems insignificant. However, in my line of work, the baseline for a significant variance is 5%. This increase proposed represents roughly a 61% increase. And this piqued my interest. Because it was such a significant amount. Looking at the estimated annual cost, the main source of the cost of increase is cost of electricity, which is approximately 85% of the cost. Again, it is significant. Going down the rabbit hole, the source of the historical costs are the lamps or the bulbs that are installed in the street light. They are high pressure vapor sodium lamps that were developed in the 1960s. Although there are some improvements to their energy efficiencies that have been made through the years, they are now obsolete and they are no longer the current standard for street illumination. In fact, they are on the timeline to be phased out in a few years and will no longer be available for purchase. Although CSA 10 can increase the fee or reduce the service by providing a lower standard of living, this is kicking the can down the road. It's my understanding that PG&E owns and manages these streetlights. It is also my understanding that PG&E has an indefinite, uncommunicated timeline of replacing the high-pressure sodium vapor bulbs to the new standard of LED lamps, which are more energy efficient in addition to other benefits. It is my understanding that if CSA requests lamps replacement, the CSA must bear the cost of an additional monthly fee into perpetuity. PG&E has no compelling reason to replace the antiquated lamps as they are receiving additional revenue streams from the higher energy costs that it charges the CSA with the current lamps, as opposed to replacing them. I roughly estimated the range of electrical cost savings for a CSA 10 could be from $2,000 to $8,000 a year at the current rates. If all the lamps were replaced, the savings would depend on the individual street lamps and the number of lumens that they are required to have. This represents approximately a 7 to 30% electrical cost savings to CSA 10. Again, significant. As PG&E rates increase, the cost to CSA 10 will be compounded exponentially each year. That is why my thoughts are to address the core issue. The current lamps are not energy efficient, and PG&E is ignoring the energy costs borne by CSA 10 by not replacing the obsolete, inefficient lamps to energy efficient LED lamps at their cost. I don't know what the agreement is with PG&E, but surely they have some responsibility in resolving the issue of lamp replacement. So I'm postponing it, this be looked at, maybe postpone in terms of the balance, which I don't know if that can be done or not. But I feel that we're being stuck as hostages to PG&E, that we have no control over this. And thank you, and I'd like to know your thoughts.
Thank you for your very thorough presentation or comments and your thoughtful questions. Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who would like to weigh in on this matter? Give your input, insight. Okay. Now we'll close the public hearing portion. Thank you for that, Josh. And we will return to the board and to staff to respond, one, to the speaker, but also to advise as to next steps.
Supervisor Peters, through the chair, I'd like to kind of get back to your question a little bit, and then I can address the speaker today. This is a continuous process for the CSAs within unincorporated Kern. We have seen costs rise over time. It's inevitable, and while we have brought many Prop 218s before you, notably the trash in recent years, that is notably different than these. That's what's called a protest hearing. So the bar to reach on a protest is, well, 50% of the mailed out ballots have to be returned in protests. These kinds of services fall under a different portion of 218 law. These are actually considered ballots. And so in these situations, we have to send out ballots that have to thus be returned, and we have to get a majority of people who say, yes, please tax me more. And you can understand that's a tough hill to get over, right? So people, don't want more taxes on themselves. And so that's why I would say the staff is to be commended, because we have done these types of Prop 218s in the past, and we've never been successful at communicating well enough with the constituents where they would want to pay more taxes. And to the staff's credit, they went door to door to these 609 property owners and told them, this is the situation we're in. Electricity costs have risen. And so this is the kind of effort it's going to take to go systematically through these CSAs, which I think we have 100 or so CSAs that we manage at Public Works. Several of them are challenged financially. To the point the speaker made about the significant rate increase, I acknowledge this is a significant rate increase compared to the original amount. These CSAs many are very old, and they were set up in a way where they got capped out. And I would go back to, well, we were running off of reserves in these funds for years, right? So we had built up funds in these reserves, and we were doing that, taking that down slowly from those designations that we had. But we've gotten to the point now where due to the electricity costs in this one, we can't bear it anymore. And that's why we're asking for this. And then that coupled with unsuccessful 218s in the past, we weren't able to raise these rates as often as we would have liked to keep up with that, just because I think the communication needs to be more robust in speaking to these property owners about what these increases are actually covering.
I appreciate that, and I think you hit the nail on the head about just communicating with the communities. But I think you guys have done that. I was just mainly curious, just from a practical point of view, if that's something that we were reviewing, is the rates through all these different CSAs, and it sounds like we are. So no, I definitely commend you guys and your hard work on this, and I appreciate the info. And I would also be interested in hearing if there's anything that we might be able to look into. I think Ms. Moore brought up some good points about PG&E. I don't know if it's something that we can reach out to them and ask where we are on that list of projects, how long that's going to take, or if it's something that the county can do and we get prorated for maintenance or something. I don't know, but just something that I think is a fair point, and something that we could look into. Thanks.
And Supervisor Peters, on that point, we are coming next week, we're coming with an additional CSA Prop 218 hearing for another one. So this is kind of the path we're moving down. And I will agree that we have upgraded to LED lights in the past, and PG&E does require that the CSA pay for those upgrades. She is correct.
Thank you. Supervisor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh had two questions. One on the potential for upgrades. How is that process initiated? Is that CSA driven? Is that county driven through staff, or is it constituent driven? How does that process work?
Supervisor Flores, through the chair, that is initiated by Public Works. So in the past, these have been areas. We have many CSAs. We have not just street lighting CSAs. These are facilities that serve neighborhoods. So we have street lighting, we have exterior landscaping, we have street sweeping. We have many services that are on the tax roll that the Public Works Department makes sure these things are kept up with. And so we are the caretakers of those things. And so we have in the past initiated with PG&E that, hey, we have identified that putting in LED lights would lower the operating costs for that CSA. Some CSAs have the money they have reserves to be able to afford that, so that the long-term outlook on that CSA is more manageable. But in some of them, such as this one, where we're running deficits, it's a difficult one to solve, but we will make contact with PG&E on this one and just get that initiated so that we can, find out what we're up against.
Thank you. So we'll ascertain whether or not new technology is more beneficial on costs.
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you. That might help you miss more. Thank you for bringing that up. And then secondly, just like a hypothetical, what happens if, in this case, the votes were in opposition? Would we cut that $9,000? Would we cut $9,000 worth of lighting and we would turn off lamps? How does that work?
This is the messaging that we were talking to the public about, is if this was unsuccessful, then your board would be unable to place this increase on the tax roll. That's the 218 law. And so the real solution that we have, because this is a benefit to that community. It's not a benefit to the public as a whole. And so we would be facing turning off many lights in this area.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have you laid out your official recommendation on the ballot count? Can you do that, please? Kathy, is that right? Thank you.
Ballots were returned to the Public Works Department. Out of 608 ballots mailed out, the department received a total of 181 ballots, 111 in favor and 70 were opposed. A majority of the ballots were returned in favor of the increase. Therefore, I recommend that you act on staff's recommendation of confirm the majority of ballots submitted are in favor of the increased assessment with adjustment formula, waive reading, and enact ordinance imposing the proposed increased assessment.
Okay, it looks as though we have a ballot read and a staff recommendation.
I'll move approval of the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Peters. Supervisor Flores seconded that motion. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Couch.
Okay, any other comments, gentlemen? Okay, staff, thank you very much. Really excellent presentation. Thank you for your comments and your insight. I think we're going to get some answers and about that. I appreciate your direction in the conversation. Thank you. We now have the matter that Supervisor Parlier pulled from consent, so he's all our favorite supervisor right now. Of course. Supervisor Parlier, item number 31 is a proposed lease agreement, including purchase option with Millie Development Company, LLC, for 601 Gardner Field Road, Taft, for use as a community substation by the Kern County Sheriff's Office for a 10-year term commencing on May 13, 2025. Supervisor Parlier, the floor is yours.
For years now, the Taft Sheriff Station has been falling apart due to soil issues, literally crumbling. So this new facility is going to be a game changer for Taft. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department and General Services for putting this agreement together. Very soon they're going to be in a new facility. safe and not falling apart.
How exciting.
Yes, it is.
That's demoralizing to see your workplace literally crumbling. Yes. That's just unacceptable. Thank you.
Motion approved.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, please cast your votes.
Can you,
Mine is cast.
okay. Let me go back. Peters, I didn't realize he wasn't there. The motion is approved, 3 ayes, 2 absent, Supervisor Couch, Supervisor Peters.
Okay, it looks like we have come to the end of our session this afternoon. Our next meeting is May 20th, 2025, for our regular meeting at 9 a.m. This board will now adjourn and go into closed session to conduct some closed session business. And so, oh, did we? Do we have one more item?
I thought we did.
Did I miss
Wasn't there a
something?
water item? Wasn't there a water item?
Oh, no, Supervisor Flores, item number 24 was withdrawn and not to be heard today.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you for the
Sorry for
clarification.
second guessing you.
Oh, please, I deserve it.
You beat me.
I need it. I need the accountability. Okay, very good. So we will then, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session and be back on the 20th.
Thank you. Motion.
Thank you, Jeff. We are adjourned.